Yeah, I hear you, and that translates into dissatisfaction. Because I mean, I find the polling staggering now. I was out last night. I forget what night it was, and my phone. I looked at my phone and saw the polling, that 33% lead, and I thought it was a joke. I thought someone had put together a spoof tweet, and then 7, 8, 9, 10 polls have come out with an average of a 25% lead. And you think people are looking at their personal circumstances and blaming the people in charge?
Yeah, basically. I mean, I think I said it on one of your shows. It's just that you can't lie to someone who's having their pocket empty. They're not going to buy it.
And all of these previous examples of it were taking place in an environment of comfort. Relative comfort.
As I said, I've got people who didn't even know the difference between Labour and Conservative who are now sending me stuff on WhatsApp. It's been going on since Boris.
Is that right?
Saying, "Oh, look at this," and look, they're sorting him out, and it's changing.
So who do you think Liz Truss is talking to then? If she's not talking to you and your colleagues, who is she talking to?
Hedge fund managers.
That's about it, right?
It is, yeah. I mean,
it feels that way.
It's insane. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to buy it anymore. They might have got away with it, a few years ago, but not now. People are waking up to this.
That's so interesting to me. Thank you. I mean, sometimes it's right under your nose, but you don't notice it until someone points it out. Of course, your personal circumstances, most people are comfortable. We spend a lot of time on this program talking about people who aren't, or we have done historically, but it's silly to forget that most people are comfortable. And so poverty, food banks, while they are a scar upon our democracy, a scar upon our national conscience, while they are an issue for a relatively tiny proportion of society, even the statistic about there being more food banks than branches of McDonald's doesn't change this truth. While they are an issue for a relatively small proportion of society, they do not move the electoral needle as much as talking heads with podcasts and broadcasters and West London townhouses and former residencies on the BBC think that they should. And there's nothing wrong with that. We're most of us concerned about our own concerns. And what Ian has just beautifully articulated is the fact that when the pips start to squeak in the lives of people whose pips have never squeaked before, and they haven't changed their rules of engagement, they haven't stopped playing the game, they haven't changed the way they do business, they're going to look up, not down. And so the Tory trick of encouraging people to look down for something to get angry about and vote against, whether it's Brexit or unemployed people or refugees, immigrants, whatever, it doesn't work, because what you want to do now is hear what's going to happen to help you. Look, I'm overthinking it maybe, overcomplicating it maybe, but Truss remains committed to promising harm to others. That list is endless. Labour, Lib Dems, SNPs, militant unions, talking heads, Brexit deniers, Extinction Rebellion, protesters, Twitter, BBC, broadcast, podcast. She is still promising to break things. She's still promising to harm people. What the people want to hear now is how she's actually going to help them. Ooh, that's a penny drop moment, isn't it? Thank you, Ian. Steve's in Tunbridge Wells. Steve, what do you reckon?
Hey, good morning. Sorry to report I'm not a woman either.
That's okay. I was pointing out that we've already had lots of women on the programme, so I was batting away Natasha's mild criticism. I wasn't endorsing or indulging it. We had Christine, Anne and Hannah before we barely got out of the blocks on this one. But anyway, on you go.
There we go. I think it's genius, to be honest. It's a brilliant marketing strategy that, some...
You've seen the poll. You've seen the polls, Steve.
The poll?
The polls.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, yes.
Okay.
And that's why it's a brilliant response to that.
Okay.
It's a marketing approach. It's a comm strategy. Because it's a convenient way of bucketing anyone and everyone who tries to scrutinize policy or provide some criticism or an alternate lens. It's just a convenient, easy way of bucketing them up and saying, well, you don't want the best for the country. You're obviously anti-growth.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but why are you confident it will work? Because so far...
It already is. I think it already is. It's...
Well, who's it working with? We can't find them. I know they might not ring me anymore, but who is it working with?
Well, I think the client journalists are going to be all over it, the Lillicos of the world. Mr. Lillico.
don't know. Is he one of the Brexity economists? I mean, he's not exactly a household. I don't think he's a household name in his own household, is he? I mean,
So
you mean the kind of people who think Liz Truss is the bee's knees already? But actually, I'm going to argue with you. I didn't think we were going to have it. Okay. I'm going to have an argument. Are you ready for an argument?
Go for it.
But these people have been boosting Liz Truss since she became leader, and you're now looking at close to 40% point deficits in the polls. She's a walking disaster. She's tanked the pound. She's screwed up people's mortgages. She's turned livelihoods and futures upside down for anybody who's coming to the end of a fixed rate or trying to get a new mortgage. She's got open warfare in her own cabinet. Even Nadine Dorries is taking pot shots at her on the front page of the Times. Penny Mordaunt is already on manoeuvres from within the cabinet. Kwasi Kwarteng is probably holed below the waterline when it comes to economic credibility. Senior bankers are describing the country as uninvestable. The idea that she's going to have a phalanx of cheerleaders out there saying that everything's going brilliantly might be true, but it's not going to work.
Well, I totally agree. You know, it is
I thought we were going to have an argument.
Well,
that's a rubbish argument.
I'm going
on Twitter. I'm going back on Twitter. I want to have a row.
I think, given the state of the party and politics, if it was an organisation like a company, it's terrible PR for that organisation.
Right.
So what do? You come up with a PR approach, a comm strategy, a marketing plan to scrape yourself out of it. That's what this is. And
that plan is everybody hates us. It's the Millwall of everybody hates us. We're Millwall. Yeah. The Millwall. She's turning the Conservative Party into Millwall Football Club, who will be everybody hates us until all the growth starts, and then I don't know. It's all very confusing.
But growth is. I mean, nobody is really anti-growth. Right.
No, of course nobody's anti-growth. So, I mean, some people might think let's not build growth from I don't know, sending children up chimneys or trading in human beings.
Exactly.
But growth per se is a good thing, a necessary thing.
So this is a brilliant way of them.
You keep using these adjectives, Steve. Brilliant and amazing. I think it's rubbish.
I think it's clever.
It's not clever. Is he clever? I hate it when people do this because it makes me think I might be missing something.
But they've created the new divisive comm strategy.
Yes.
You know,
well, no, I know all that. I do understand what is happening. I think I described it rather well at the top of this topic. But where you derive your confidence that it will work is what confuses me.
Well, I think, Nadine Zahawi has already tweeted about it. I think it's a matter of time before we see the pundits from the IEA and TPA.
Yeah, but that doesn't. Okay. I mean, we shall see. We shall see. I think you may be giving them too much credit, but on the other hand, possibly the fact that people didn't realise how influential and sinister they were, possibly explains what the parts of the mess that we're currently in. I think it's disastrous because it's so sort of floppy. It's floppy is what it is, floppy. Whereas hatred of foreigners, hatred of Brussels, hatred of unemployed people, that was really diamond hard focus. You could sit here. If I was a right-wing radio, I could sit here talking about flat-screen televisions and lazy people who don't open their curtains in the morning. I get really cross about single mothers having children that they can't afford and immigrants who can't speak the language. I'm not going to get cross about people in North London townhouses being driven to the BBC to share their thoughts on, I don't know, the state of Wimbledon or something, or politics. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I think you are. It's 11:44. It is 11:48. You're listening to James O'Brien on LBC, where the question of who Liz Truss likes is a tough one, but we shall persevere until mystery hour is upon us. I'm also going to cross live to Bishopsgate, where that dreadful story unfolded earlier this morning. 4 people reportedly stabbed. We'll find out a little bit more about that for you. Timing, isn't it? And it's a very small thing in the great scheme of things, but it would have been something we could have talked to Sadiq Khan about at the top of the programme. 11:48 is the time. Deborah is in Leigh-on-Sea. Will it work, Deb? We know we think we know what the plan is, but will it work?
It will work for my in-laws, the Daily Mail Tory voters, because they believe everything they hear from those. They loved Boris.
Right.
They probably don't. They're not so keen on Truss, but she's still the Conservative Party. Tanking interest rates to them. They don't have a mortgage anymore.
Right.
It may affect the pension fund slightly, but, they had the Equitable Life thing and they've
weathered that storm already. I mean, £300 billion sort of lost in the UK market. And this is Bloomberg this morning reporting investors turning away from British policy chaos. Domestic shocks start to look cheap as pound recovers. £300 billion wiped from the combined value of the nation's stock and bond markets. But that's just sort of numbers, really, isn't it? It's not news.
Numbers. That's big numbers. And it won't affect their pockets.
What
will?
Really. What would make them think? Because I thought Ian was a fascinating caller earlier, simply talking about people who've never felt professionally insecure before in their lives, in their working lives, now for the first time worrying about having enough work to make ends meet and therefore suddenly undergoing a sort of political baptism. What would make your in-laws, your Daily Mail reading in-laws, fall out of love with the Tory party, if anything?
I don't think anything ever would.
No.
It's been a bane of my 20-year marriage to the family. That's married to. But I was fooled into the Brexit let's leave, and I'm very angry about it now. They are. No, it's still fine. What do you mean it's still fine?
So you're a Brexit denier because you're unhappy about the way things have gone, even though you voted for things that were never going to happen, but you didn't realise that at the time.
I voted because I was fed loads of lies, and
that's Brexit denying, seeing the truth.
That is Brexit denying. The truth is now here, and it's like, so the people that say, actually, no, you lied about this. Apparently, I read they had the Leave Party spent more money than they were allowed on their advertising for the Leave campaign. And it is all this, what's happened to the inquiries about the
No, it's
Brexit
a very good
campaign.
question. It's a good question.
Where is it?
So it will work, but will it? I mean, are there enough of them? Are there enough of Daily Mail reading in-laws out there to make? And if you said to them, who I tell you what, this is interesting. If you said to them, who's really got your goat at the moment? Who you really got a problem with? What would they say from this list that we've got here? The sort of Brexit deniers, Extinction Rebellion, Twitter, BBC, broadcasters, podcasters. Militant unions, that's an old one.
Militant unions would definitely be up there. But Brexit created the union, gave the unions more power because Brexit's taken away workers' rights.
So,
and so the unions are now having to step up because the EU laws are like, well, you can't do this, you can't do that. You need to give people, they
working
shouldn't be
time directives.
More,
they haven't gone yet, but Rees-Mogg has certainly got his eye on them, taking away workers.
But they're slowly trying, you just get more money. You can earn 70. You can work 70 hours a week.
I think he apologised for that this morning. Actually, Jake Berry. I'm not sure.
So.
Well, I would hope so too. But credit where credit's due. Even if you're saying sorry, you're saying. Jamie Oliver. Where do your in-laws stand on Jamie Oliver?
Well, they like Jamie Oliver because, he does cooking. They like food. Yeah. And they sort of agree. But at the same time, they're like, well, it's, the parents thought they don't feed their problems. It's like, but
it's parents' fault,
we are broken. Education, he's been fighting. This should be taught in schools. It is changing a bit now. My son does a lot more food, cookery and management and budgeting now. But, Martin Lewis is brilliant. Where is the housing and life, social, economic, how to budget, what... Yeah. Oh, it's great. Yes, you can get everything on credit.
No, I'm covering a lot of ground, and I like it. And I know you love them, even if they do drive you potty. But that's what families are for, isn't it, really? But that idea of it landing, that's our first confident subscription to the, what's it called again? An anti-growth coalition. The anti-growth, because she said it so many times in the speech. Should we have another listen? No, we won't. I've done it enough. Pat's in Milton Keynes. Pat, what would you like to say?
Hi, James.
Hello, Pat.
Morning.
Hello.
I love your programme.
Oh, you're kind.
My
Thank
daily
you.
dose of depression.
Depression? What are you talking about? I thought you were going to say. People these days, Pat, they say I keep them sane. They don't come on and say it's a daily dose of depression. Although I do, I appreciate the alliteration.
Sadly, it's when at the moment when reality bites, it makes you a bit depressed. But here you go. I have a slightly jokey take on this, but I also think it's quite relevant.
Yes, go on.
You have a big army, and it's tramping around the countryside, crushing all the little armies. What do the little armies need to do? They need to get together.
Yes.
They need to coalesce. We didn't have a common hook on which to hang our hats. And maybe Liz Truss gave us one yesterday.
Gosh. So if all of these people were to unite, that would be would be an insuperable force, wouldn't it?
I want the AGC, a bumper sticker, the T-shirt, and I want to be a fully paid up member. And if people just think about it, it is a bit jokey, I know, but wouldn't it be good if you could just actually have recognised she hates us all, except for those, who hang around her fringes.
Hang around her fringes? Ooh, her matron. I don't know who she does like. It's a genuine question, partly informed by Danny Finkelstein's rather excellent newspaper column, but who does she like?
Well, she certainly doesn't like me, and she certainly doesn't like you, and she certainly doesn't like a Labour SNP, Lib Dems,
people with townhouses in North London,
people with townhouses.
Podcasters,
I haven't got one of those.
Tweeters, Brexit deniers, talking heads.
Why don't we just think to ourselves, that's the one, that's what we need. We need an AGC. We all coalesce around it, we join it, and all of a sudden we could become a voice.
Well, it may have backfired. I quite like your counterpoint here to Steve's enthusiasm for what a good idea and how well it was going to work. Pat, thank you. And what's the point of doing all these jokes? All these little comedy routines, if it's just going to depress Pat, I'm going to have to up my game a bit. I have to be even funnier than I am already, if that's even possible. Nothing remotely funny about the story we turn our attention to next. You've probably heard it already in the news bulletins here on LBC. 3 people stabbed in London's financial district this morning. Emma Corr is LBC's reporter at Bishopsgate in London. Emma, what can you tell us?
Well, James, I'm at the heart of the City of London on Bishopsgate. This happened just metres away from one of the most iconic buildings in London, the Gherkin, and just a little further down as well from Liverpool Street Station. We know 3 people have been stabbed here. The City of London police say they received reports of stabbings and a person pushed to the floor on Bishopsgate at 9:46 a.m. 3 victims were then taken for treatment at a nearby hospital. When officers were on scene here by 9:41, police say this is an ongoing situation but have ruled out it being terror-related. They say they're not treating this incident as terror-related. A police cordon remains in place here. 2 police vans parked up and around 5 officers on scene here as well. In the city here, it does seem under control at the moment, traffic moving now freely, but this would have been very distressing for people coming here, commuting in, horrified seeing this on their way to work, and it required, of course, a quick and vast emergency response. The Met Police saying they will keep us up to date on this incident throughout the day. But as I say, at the moment, under control right now.
Thank you, Emma. Emma Corr there live for LBC at Bishopsgate in London, where, as you heard, 3 people were stabbed earlier this morning. Some reports suggesting that they may have been intervening in an attempted bike theft, but the Metropolitan Police clear that there is no terrorism involved. 11:57. I can squeeze in one more, and then we need to clear the boards and get Mystery Hour up and running. Hannah is in Richmond. Hannah, what do you reckon?
Oh, good morning, James.
Hello.
Hi. I think perhaps what it could be in terms of this wide list of groups to blame in terms of this anti-growth coalition term, I think perhaps what it could be is it's a tactic or it's a ploy, perhaps for use on doorsteps. You know, when they go out knocking on doors to get vote for me.
Yes.
And that those people knocking on those doors might use it to perhaps underscore whatever the fears of that potential voter are that they're knocking on the door of.
Are people frightened of podcasts, do you think?
I don't know specifically about probably if it's BBC, going against what they believe.
You can wind people up about the BBC. Twitter, I suppose people who glue themselves to roads get on other people's nerves, don't they? But you can't help thinking that if we had actually insulated all our houses when Insulate Britain were telling us to, then we'd be a bit better placed to cope with these ludicrous energy bills that are heading our way now. But maybe they won't do that. They won't talk about that. I don't know.
Agree.
Will it work? Is the key question.
Will it work? I don't think so, because I think, as your caller from Gratham so articulately, explained.
Yes.
I think people are wised up. They're far more wised up now because, as you pointed out, so many more people are feeling it and looking upwards for some kind of hope and direction.
That was a bit embarrassing, wasn't it, Hannah? The fact that I was so surprised by what he said, when actually, the more I think about it, the more perfect it was in terms of a relationship between population and politics. Sometimes you can be a bit too close to the action, can't you? You do it every day and you forget what it's like not to be plugged into the news cycle and the political shenanigans and all the toing and froing.
It was reassuring. I don't know about you, but I found that quite reassuring.
Yeah, I did. I did. The fact that everyone is reachable.
The deploy won't work.
Yeah, everyone is eventually reachable. There have been times over the last few years where you've wondered whether what is it going to take for people to realise that the direction of traffic is not good. Thank you, Hannah. 2 Hannahs, I think, in that hour. You wait ages for a Hannah to come along, and then 2 come along at once. It is 12 noon, and it's Thursday. And as things stand, there are no major breaking news stories. There is no party political conference, which means that after the news, it's time for Mystery Hour, your weekly opportunity to achieve the sort of satisfaction not ordinarily available anywhere else on your radio dial. I know the last hour sounded a little bit like a sort of glorified Mystery Hour, didn't it, with questions about the anti-growth coalition and Liz Truss. But let's scratch all of that. Let's step away from the politics and let's just have a little bit of fun.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation. Mystery Hour with James O'Brien.
4 minutes after 12 is the time, and you are listening to James O'Brien on LBC. Mystery Hour is upon us, your weekly opportunity to achieve the sort of satisfaction not ordinarily available anywhere else on your radio dial. The way it works is this. Someone rings in with a question, we chat for a bit, and then someone rings in with the answer. We chat for a bit more and establish whether or not that answer is actually correct, or definitive, as we like to say. And if it is definitive, they get a round of applause. And if their qualifications, which I will check, are so astonishingly appropriate for the question that they have answered, then they will receive the highest accolade that British radio can bestow upon a caller, a Ray Liotta. And I'm not going to tell you what that is. You'll just have to hope that someone is sufficiently brilliant to get one. Speaking of brilliance, the best caller, the best contributor, my favourite questioner or answerer, will receive a Mystery Hour board game, a James O'Brien's Mystery Hour board game, available in branches of John Lewis and at mysteryhour.co.uk. Go to the LBC, hang on a minute, there we go. Go to lbc.co.uk for the full terms and conditions. Shall we crack on? Shall we do it? Are we good? I think we are. Start with Emma, who is in Epsom. Emma, question or answer?
Hiya, it's a question.
Carry on.
So I'm wondering why we categorise certain foods into certain meals or times of the day.
Yes. So you wouldn't have a steak sandwich or a steak and chips for breakfast, would you?
Yeah, so typically, like you wouldn't have porridge as your dinner meal.
But hang on, yeah. I mean, it's simpler than that, isn't it? It's well, you might have a mixed grill for breakfast, Emma. You know.
Yeah, but I mean, like your typical breakfast. So I understand, like a fried breakfast. Yeah, we have a fry up in the UK. It's like a typical breakfast, but your usual things of cereal, toast.
Is it not just appetite? We just don't want to eat that much food? Is it not? Are you shaking your head at me? Sorry, I'm talking to Keith, not you. I can't see whether you're shaking your head or not. Perfectly reasonable if you are.
Well, I mean, I don't think so, because it's all come about because this morning I found myself looking for something to have for breakfast.
Yes.
I didn't fancy cereal or toast.
Fair enough. Go
and
on.
I have in the fridge what I made last night to have for lunch today.
What was that?
My brain, initially, I had some rice and some mince.
Okay.
So
like
typically...
Like a bolognese mince? A bolognese mince with tomato sauce?
No, it was like a Thai... a Thai
minced pork? Minced pork?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, delicious. With a bit of lemongrass and chili, something like that, was it?
It had, yeah. I mean, I don't like spice, so it didn't have chili in it. But yeah, it should have done.
Okay. You left the chili out. Interesting.
Yeah.
And well, they would have that for breakfast in Thailand, I think.
Right. Okay. So then it's more of a cultural thing. Then
It might be. I don't know. We'll find out. So, and did you weren't tempted to have a bit of that for breakfast or not?
No, I did.
You did have that for breakfast.
Yeah,
what are you going to have for lunch, Emma?
but my brain was telling me that it was
Wrong.
not the dumb thing to do.
It was wrong.
Exactly.
It was wrong.
Yeah.
What are you going to have for lunch if you've just had that
Well,
for breakfast?
I don't know.
Oh, Lord.
You've
just kicked the problem down the road, haven't you? You've just kicked the problem down the road, Emma. You're part of that anti-growth coalition I keep hearing about, aren't you? People who have their lunch for breakfast should have been on Liz Truss's list yesterday. Why else? Why do we have breakfast stuff for breakfast? I think it might be appetite, but Keith's shaking his head at me.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but then, that
Let's have a look.
wasn't my thought this morning. So.
Thank you. I like it, actually. It's growing on me the more I think about that question. Thank you, Emma. We shall try and find out. James writes, I would absolutely have steak and chips for breakfast. Chuck a fried egg on as well and you're living the dream, says James in Tunbridge Wells. I think you're probably right. I don't know if I'd have chips. Would I have chips? I don't think I'd have chips. I don't know. Thank you, Emma. Tony's in Chingford. Tony, question or answer?
Morning. Yeah, it's a question, please.
Carry on, Tony.
Yeah, I read a lot of fantasy and sci-fi, and quite often one of the plot devices is something amazing happens when all the planets line up.
Okay.
I was wondering, in reality, when the planets do line up, does anything interesting actually happen?
You'd get an eclipse, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, all the planets lining up. I don't know if eclipse is that amazing. Is there something physical?
What do you mean? If an eclipse is no, have you ever seen an eclipse? Don't look at it, but you know what I mean.
Actually, when I was a kid in Australia, we had an eclipse, and we all had those
special
things
glasses
that you make in school. Yeah, we made like a telescope thing.
And was it amazing? Was it amazing?
Yeah, actually, it was.
Oh, there you go. There you go then. So, yeah, amazing things happen when the planets align. You get an eclipse.
Well, that's a very good one. You can get half a round of applause.
No, I'm having a whole round of Keith, what are you doing? Why get your finger out with you, Keith? I needed to be quick there. Comic timing, Keith. Comic timing. So you mean, I mean, would all the planets in the solar system ever align? I don't know. Would they?
Well, I actually looked at it just before I phoned up, and it does happen quite regularly in a general alignment, but apparently about every...
But what sort of thing would... I mean, in sci-fi, presumably you get a new emperor, do you, or something like that? Or you get...
Yeah.
But what would happen in reality? I mean, what could happen on Earth in reality if all the planets in the solar system were in alignment?
I was thinking, is there some sort of thing with gravity, or is it
okay. So, like, all the spoons started heading to the nearest... Something got magnetised or something like that, or I don't know.
Does that magnetic field change? Do we get loads of sunspots?
Hang on, stay there, Tony.
Like that,
Wait there a minute. I'm going to put that round of applause. Can I put that back in the box, please, Keith? Thank you very much. Right, I put that back, and now it's up and running. Does anything actually happen? Does anything exciting happen in reality when all the planets align?
Yeah,
a grand conjunction, we could call it.
Yeah, so very, very good conjunction as well, because it can't just be a basic alignment. It needs to be...
a grand alignment, a grand conjunction. Yes. I don't know who sent that phrase in. They didn't sign their text. Apparently Jesus was born at a grand conjunction, but that is not the sort of answer that you're currently looking for. 10 minutes after 12 is the time. Thank you, Tony. I love that one. Breakfasts and grand conjunctions. It's all happening. Chris is in Brighton. Chris, question or answer?
Hey, James. It's a question, please.
Carry on, mate.
Why is soapbox racing called soapbox racing? It's a question for my son, really, which
What is soapbox racing?
Well, it's a sort of like go-karting downhill.
Well, it's because the original go-karts were made out of boxes what soap came in, isn't it?
This is it. I did that thing. I took my son to this one in Eastbourne the other week, and he turned around to me and he said, "Why is it called soapbox racing?" And I didn't know, and I didn't want to do that dad thing of going, "I'm going to have a wild stab at this because it's probably right." And he said, "You could phone into Mystery Hour." So I just wanted to get that cleared up.
So I can't take a round of applause then. We need someone to actually go definitive, because it's almost certainly going to be.
It's got to be. It's probably.
Hasn't it? Well, whenever I say that phrase, it's almost certainly got to be. It always comes back to haunt me. Actually. It
always comes back to bite you.
It really does. So we'll just find out why is soapbox racing called soapbox racing from someone that actually knows.
I'm sure we're both right.
Yeah, I am as well. But as I say, the more sure I am that I'm sure that I'm right, often the more shaky the ground beneath my feet turns out to be. Thank you, Chris. Why is soapbox racing called soapbox racing? Peter's in Milton Keynes. Peter, question or answer?
Hi, my name is Dieter. Yeah, I'm German.
Dieter, my apologies.
Don't worry.
I do worry. The details are important, Dieter. Can we change that? Hang on, wait there, because I'm going to call you Peter again in a minute. He's called Dieter, not Peter. Can we change it on the screen, please? Dieter. It would be. It's German. Thank you.
Very good, yes.
Carry on, Dieter.
Right, I have a question. We always talk about global warming, and global warming is obviously a average temperature.
Yes.
I would want to know how this average temperature is calculated. So, you need for averages, you need points of where you measure the temperature. You can make 100 points in the Sahara and you get a very high temperature.
Again, I hesitate to say it's obvious, but wouldn't they just collate a bunch of temperatures from all over the place and work out the average?
Yeah. How many points are
So
there?
how do they calculate it, you want to know, specifically, rather than my meanderings, my pontifications?
Yes, well, we can go over the whole globe, but where do we get those measuring points? Are the satellites, are they doing it with satellites? How are they doing this, basically, is the question.
I like it. It's a great question. Thank you, Dieter. Do you know how they've spelled it? Hang on a minute, Dieter. I worked with a lovely bloke called Dieter back in my suit selling days. Do you know how they've spelt your name on the screen?
No.
I told them how to spell it. Do you remember? Did you hear me say how to spell it? I said Dieter. They've spelled it.
Yes, that's correct.
I know it's correct. Do you know how they've spelled it? They spelled it Dita.
Dita. It's probably an Indian. There's an Indian.
Sounds a bit Indian.
Name, I think Dita. I came across that, but
well, if you ever ring back, they may address you incorrectly as a consequence. I'll tell you what. I'll get it fixed. Leave it with me.
Well, I'm not going to tell you my surname. Then you get a. Then you get
a full.
An overflow here. So okay.
Well, thank you, Dieter.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you. 13 after 12 is the time. Adam isn't. Now, no one's ever misspelled Adam, have they? I wouldn't have thought. So,
ADAM, unless if you're wondering.
It's ADAM, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm psychic. I thought it would be.
I know.
Ooh, question or answer?
Answer, James.
Carry on.
It's the breakfast one.
And breakfast means breakfast. Sorry.
Yeah, well, I think it's more of an opinion, but it's my opinion is it's cultural. I worked on ships for about 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
And if anyone's spent more than 5 minutes on a ship, you'll know that it's made up of so many, a crew and staff, it's made up of so many nationalities, but there are always a good portion of Filipinos on there. They're so hardworking, it's just absolutely mental. And whether you're in the crew mess or the officers' mess, every single meal, there is always a big vat of white rice.
Oh.
Always. Doesn't matter. I wasn't going to call in, and then the lady who was asking the question said, well, actually, I had rice and...
Specifically talking about sort of Southeast Asian food.
Yeah, I personally think it is. It's a cultural thing.
So what about the size of the meal, though? Is there? I thought that might have something to do. We have a smaller meal for breakfast because we've only just woken up and our body isn't really firing on all cylinders yet.
Granted, but you look at a typical... if you look at stereotypes, you look at a typical British breakfast, then it's the full English.
Yeah.
You look at the typical American breakfast, and you say, well, they have literally the weirdest things with weirdest things. Sausage patty with a lot of honey on there.
Pancakes. And grits.
For everything.
Grits.
But I think the size is irrelevant. It's what a stereotype speaks to a culture's breakfast, but I think it is all cultural.
Well, hang on. I've got a few more thoughts.
Go on.
Preparation time.
Yeah.
Breakfast, you want something that you're not going to spend an hour getting your breakfast ready, are you? Because that would be in your bed, out the door, minimal amount of time spent preparing it. So for breakfast, you've got ready-made rice, so that works. And but you're going to have some cereal because you don't have to cook it. Most people aren't going to have a cooked breakfast on a weekday, on a school night, a school morning, or a work morning. So steak and eggs, traditional cowboy breakfast.
In there as well, isn't it? That's it as well.
What?
The prep time kind of negates everything. It kind of gazumps what you're saying, but at the same time, it depends on the day of the week and whether you're working.
That's true.
Yeah.
So steak and eggs for cowboys, Paul reminds us. And that wouldn't take long, would it? That wouldn't take long.
No, we just had a holiday in Mexico, and there's Huevos Diablos and Huevos Rancheros.
Huevos Rancheros. Diablos is the ones with the chili sauce on them.
Oh, You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I love Mexican food. I went to Mexico for my honeymoon. It was fantastic. Where did you go? Which bit did you go to?
Well, we actually went on our honeymoon there in 2016. It was the first time we were able to get back for my 40th. Riviera Maya.
Oh, yes. Yeah, no, what's it called, that bit there? We were in Tulum, so we went down from...
Oh, you're a bit further south.
Yeah, tiny, but we went through. Playa del Carmen we went through, didn't we? We haven't been back, and we got married 22 years ago. Anyway, we digress. Adam, thank you for that. A round of applause, I think. I think between us, but you can have it. I've got loads.
I'll have that.
All right, then.
Cheers, James.
Don't spend it all at once. It's 12:17.
Mystery Hour on LBC with James O'Brien.
20 minutes after 12. Did I tell you about the light box, Keith? Did I tell you about this? I've got a light box now on one of the big floors. You know, because I noticed the other day I was one of the only big shot presenters here at Global Radio who didn't have any like. There's a whopping great picture of Sheila Fogarty when you walk through the front door. She looks fantastic in it. But I went on a tour next to Mr. Jam. That's right. I went on a little tour of the building, wondering where the picture of me would be, and I couldn't find one. So I pointed this out, and they put one up. That's nice, isn't it? It's nice to feel seen. No, it's not in the toilets. We're going to have a look at it afterwards. I might do a little ribbon cutting ceremony. Can you make some arrangements? 20 minutes after 12. Back to Mystery Hour. Breakfast, I think we pretty much covered that. And actually, Liz reminds me that I've been to Sri Lanka as well. I had a beautiful holiday in Sri Lanka, Liz, where you have curry for breakfast. And a proper curry as well, with the breads and the rice and the sambal. Oh, I like a sambal. So, I mean, it is just going to be depending on partly where you are. But I think a large part of the explanation would be ease of preparation. And there was something as well, Keith reminded me, about pork marketing. Pork marketing? It's Liz Truss is haunting the programme at the pork markets. That there was just as a way of selling more pork. They sort of created the idea that sausages and bacon would be good for breakfast. And Kellogg himself invented cornflakes as a sort of, I think they were supposed to be, he was a bit weird, the bloke that invented Kellogg's cornflakes. There's a superb book by an author called T. Coraheason Boyle called, I think, The Road to Wellville, that was turned into a film. And it had something to do with sex, the cornflake story. I can't remember what, but what a fascinating question. Thank you, Emma. 21 minutes after 12 is the time. Andy's in Tunbridge. Andy, question or answer?
Hello, James. Answer to the question about the modern ways to determine our
average global temperature.
Yeah, so you were on the right lines. There are weather stations positioned all over the planet, on both land and out at sea, on sort of ocean buoys.
Yes.
They tend to be positioned away from urban heat islands.
Okay.
To make sure that we don't get that influence of
man-made heat, as it were, as opposed to climate.
Yeah, and so the ones that are on land are put in things called a Stevenson screen, which is a box a bit like a beehive.
No, I remember we had one of those at school.
Yeah, so they're again to make sure you don't get direct sunlight on the instrumentation that sits within it.
Oh, okay.
So you just get the air going in and out.
And who's in charge? And do we know how many there are? How many?
Yeah, well, the Met Office in this country has several hundred, but then they're collected from data that's from the other sort of national weather services around the planet, and a lot of it will be local. Privately owned ones as well.
Right.
But to kind of fill in some of the detail around how this relates to climate change. So prior to the modern instrumentation, the sort of proxy records were collected from things like what's called dendroclimatology, which is measuring the density of tree rings, and a lot of data was collected from ice cores, particularly from Greenland and Antarctica, to measure kind of oxygen levels and air bubbles that are contained within those ice cores, to measure the temperature within those.
Gosh.
And then what happens is, in order to kind of validate the data from that, climate scientists have then done what's called hindcast models,
right,
where you kind of understand what the impacts would be of that historical record, with and without the human influence.
Okay.
So that's why now when modern scientists sort of report their data, it is as good as modern kind of weather forecasts. We know that this is absolutely 100% fact. It's not to be disputed.
No, perfect. Remind me, qualifications?
My master's was in climate change.
Indeed it was. Have you already got the board game?
I haven't got a board game
yet,
yet, James.
I'm just checking. You're on the list. You're a contender. But there's no clues there and no special. I just couldn't remember whether I'd given you one before or not, because you've certainly had a lot of these.
Yes, thank you very much.
No, thank you very much, Andy, and thank you for all that you do. Sean's in Concert in County Durham. Sean, question or answer?
Question, mate.
Carry on.
Why do they call it bubble and squeak?
Why do you call what bubble and squeak?
The leftovers of your Sunday dinner.
The potatoes and cabbage and the rest of it.
Why do they call it bubble and squeak?
When did you last cook it?
I thought it was a Tory in a frying pan.
When did you last
Never mind. No, I've never had it for years.
Well, if you had, what sort of sound would it make while you were cooking it? No, it would be nothing like that.
Probably burnt on the edges. I don't know.
No, it would make a bubbling and a squeaking sound.
It wouldn't.
Yes, it would, man. Because you've got it all mushed up together, so it's got air bubbles in it, and that's going to create a sort of squeaking and a bubbling sound. I mean, when you fry anything,
I've never had it squeaking before.
But you've never cooked it. You said yourself you hadn't cooked it for years.
It bubbles, but I've never heard it squeak.
It'd squeak a little bit, not like a sort of mouse squeak, but a little squeak. In Scotland, they call it something like rumble thumps or something like that for the same. Are you all right there, Sean? Are you all right, mate? Do you want to take a moment?
I'm all right, man. I've just had a bit of bacon that went down the wrong way.
Oh, dear. Pork market.
That's part of bubble and squeak, isn't it?
Yeah, it can be. I mean, usually you'd just you'd chop up what was left of your joint and you'd have potatoes, cabbage. I like a few sprouts. I have bubble and squeak on Boxing Day, Sean, usually.
Sprouts.
So sprouts, yeah. I like sprouts. If you do, the thing is, for my Christmas sprouts, I do chestnuts and lardons. Like bits of bacon cubes.
Oh, no wonder you squeak.
That's it. You see. So I put the bacon cubes and the chestnuts in with my sprouts on Christmas Day, and I always do more than necessary because the combination of the bacon, the chestnut, and the sprout elevates your bubble and squeak to previously undreamt of levels, Sean.
My God, you'll never be off the bog.
What you talking about? Sprouts? That's not. Right, well, the answer to your question is it is called bubble and squeak because that is the sound it makes when you cook it.
Right on, mate. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Sean. Love to the family.
Yeah.
Round of applause. Thank you. 37 minutes after 12 is the time. Michael's in Manchester. Michael, question or answer?
Answer. I'm actually in Glasgow at the moment.
How did that happen?
I have no idea. I'm assuming phone lines.
You must have phoned me from Manchester before.
Yes, I think I phoned before. I think it was about batteries.
There it is. So now you're in. Yes. I shall adjust my records accordingly, Michael.
Okay. I travel all around. I'm an engineer, so I'm all over the country and the world.
All right. Carry on.
But yes, answer to the planetary question.
Yes, please.
Contrary to what you'd see in Disney's Hercules or something like that, when the planets align, nothing happens.
Oh.
They're basically too far apart, and they don't. When scientists and people say that planets align, they don't really align. They're just kind of in the same section of sky.
Right.
So it looks very cool, and it happens, as your caller said, fairly regularly, but they're just too far apart. I mean, any gravity interference between planets would be pretty much negligible. I mean, you are talking on the astrological scale here,
so nothing then. I mean, you get the sort of eclipse for a minor conjunction, but for a grand conjunction, there's nothing special happening at all.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about so they're not all. When you look at a picture of the solar system, they're all on a nice flat plane, but they're all kind of actually not flat plane. They're off kilter and everything like that. So they don't really align.
Qualifications?
So I think the last planetary alignment was in 2020. So there were loads of articles popping up all over the news. Basically, people were like, I'm worried about this. Is it some cataclysmic event? But I also used to work at, this might sound a bit like a shout-out, at the University of Kent's Space School.
There's a space school at the University of Kent?
Yes. So it's not really a school. It's the first 2 weekends of August is the Perseid meteor shower.
Wow.
And 11 to 18-year-olds can go to this event and basically learn about space for a weekend. That's really great fun.
And
get pizza and everything.
And your that's where your qualifications lie academically, is it?
Yeah. I did my undergrad at University of Kent, and
you go back to help out at space school
as an undergrad. Yeah, basically you just kind of help out. Basically, they get there's a bunch of guys that live around Kent that have these massive telescopes, and they bring it up to the kind of observatory area on the university campus, and you point out like, this is Saturn. Look, the telescopes are good enough that you can see storms on Saturn. You know, that kind of level of.
The 5th of May 2000, lots of people are mentioning. Did you mention that, or did you do something more recent?
I think when the articles I read, I think it was 2020, but I could be wrong. And also, it's not really that all of the planets align. It's usually they talk about like 3 to 5 to 7 or, something like that. It takes, I think, several thousand years for all of them to align in the same section of sky, not like in a perfect line.
Love it. I will... give you a round of applause for that.
Thank you very much.
That's a perfect answer. Well played. Thank you, Michael. This is good. Hi, James. In answer to the question about rice for breakfast, it's a traditional thing, and it's all to do with going to the paddy fields with a full stomach in the early hours of the morning so that you don't get hungry until lunchtime. This is because the paddy fields could be miles away from your home, so it would be difficult for you to pop home for a quick snack. For peasant farmers, it was the most cost-effective and available food item that you would have access to, and the tradition has carried on into the modern times. It would. And I was right about the... malarkey, being involved in the invention of cornflakes, but I'm not going to tell you. I'll let you find out for yourself what that's all about. Amelia Cox is here now with your headlines.
Mystery Hour with James O'Brien. This is LBC.
It is 12:34 and you're listening to James O'Brien on LBC, where Mystery Hour continues, trying to get answers to the following questions. I think we've done the breakfast. We've done the planets. Why is soapbox racing? Why is it called soapbox racing? And we've done we've done almost all of it. We've done the global temperature. We've done bubble and squeak. That's all that's left, is it? The soapbox racing. That's all I've got left on my list. Gosh. Tom's in Glasgow. Tom, question or answer?
Hi, James.
Hello,
Thank you for having me on.
You're very welcome.
I have a question and also an affirmation of your correctness on the soapbox races as well.
You can't do both. You can only do what you cleared with the producer, mate.
Okay, the question is, and now bear with me on this, there is crossovers between English and French for the days of the week being named after celestial bodies.
Right.
So Monday is Monde, the world, or also Lundi, so Lunar Day.
Yeah.
Tuesday in French is Mardi, so Mars Day, Wednesday, Mercury Day, and so on.
Yeah.
But in English, you then get Saturday, Saturn Day, and Sunday after the sun.
Yeah.
But there's nothing for Friday.
Or
there's
Thursday.
no celestial body for Friday and Vendredi in French. So jeudi would be Jupiter.
Would it?
Well, I'm assuming so.
Why?
Because it's a J.
Well, yeah, but so's, jangle.
But it's
Thursday. Well, hang on.
Jeudi.
Yeah, but Thursday is
Day.
named after Thor, isn't it? Isn't that named after a Viking god?
But that would be in English.
Yeah. Well, I thought we were talking English.
As I say, it goes across the channel, I think.
So where does Friday come from? In English, Friday is also a Norse god, I think.
Ah, okay.
I'm pretty sure Thursday and Friday are named after Norse gods. I don't know where that information has come from, and I'm 52% sure I haven't made it up.
But then if that's the case for us, why do the French call Vendredi and not name it after a planet like that?
Well, I don't know, but that wasn't your original question, was it? I can't be going bilingual on Mystery Hour, mate. It's complicated enough keeping up with all this stuff as it is.
I'm just trying to figure out where Friday comes from. I was having a chat with my daughter, who's 7, and I was putting her to bed the other night. And
Freya, isn't it? Freya, the Norse goddess Freya is Friday. But I don't know what the French one is. Sorry, I interrupted. You were telling me about your daughter.
No, my daughter, I was putting her to bed and we were discussing days of the week in French.
That's
and
nice.
I just noticed that there's a cross-correlation between days of the week in English
I
and
hadn't
French
noticed
and
that before.
celestial bodies. No, neither had I.
It was lovely. I mean, you might be completely wrong. It could just be a coincidence. It's got nothing to do with Mars or the Moon or Mercury or Jupiter. Because they wouldn't call them that in French, would they? What's Jupiter in French?
Pass.
Hey, what about Venus, mate? Venus.
Well, that's it. Venus is the... maybe Venus is Vendredi.
Venus for Vendredi!
Oh, there we go. Okay, well, we've answered it then, haven't we?
There it is.
Okay, so every day of the week is named after a celestial body in English and French.
No, because you've got two
Friday.
Norse gods in maybe the I don't know whether they appeared in the constellation. Did they, the Norse gods? I don't know. I don't know enough about Norse gods. But it was.
So I missed out Venus.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that's great. Thanks for that.
That's magical radio, that, Tom.
It is.
That's incredible.
So not only have you answered your own soapbox question, you've also answered my celestial bodies question.
What did you think Wednesday was? Oh, yeah. So here it's a lot. No, in English it's a lot to do with Norse gods. Rick's just said it's Woden for the.
Okay.
But the French ones are going to be
Mercredi.
But they're gods as well, aren't they? They're not planets. They're gods.
Yeah, Mercury was the god of whatever.
Speed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what it is?
No, thermometers.
I should know that.
Thermometers.
I'm a go-kart commentator.
The god of thermometers. That's why you wanted to do the soap. We're cancelling that. Don't go there. Let someone else get the round of applause for that.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
But there it is, Vendredi Venus, Vendredi. You should have worked that one out, Tom, really.
I should have done.
You said why? I said J. I said why J for Jupiter. You said because it begins with J. As if I was stupid. And you just missed out the fact that Vendredi begins with V-E-N. It's literally Venus Day.
Thank you very much, James.
Thank you very much. Round of applause for all of us. Well, all of us. All of us.
Thank you very much, James.
Thank you, mate. Take care. Oh, that was fun. I enjoyed that. Ian's in Oakham. Ian, question or answer?
I've got a question.
Carry on.
Why do we get our age wrong?
Pardon?
Why do we get our age?
No, I mean, I heard you. I don't understand the question. I understand what the words mean.
Right. let me try and give you an example, because this really confuses me.
Go on, then.
Okay, so you have a baby.
Yeah.
And 12 months later, we then say that baby has become one.
Yeah.
And we say that for the next 12 months.
Yeah.
But they're not.
What?
As they're experiencing their second instances of everything, second Easter, second Christmas, etc.
Yeah.
But we still say they're one.
Yeah.
But they're not. They've been there twice. They've had 2 Christmases.
Yeah.
So how are they one?
Because they haven't got to their second birthday yet.
But they've had their second 7th of September.
Yeah, but they haven't had their second birthday yet. It's on the... I mean, I think some countries count
it... That's the anniversary, isn't it?
Getting a what? A birthday?
That's their second anniversary, isn't it?
Of the second anniversary of their birth, yeah. So, I mean, how would you do it then? What would be right?
Well, no, I haven't got an alternative. I just think it's wrong and confusing.
Well, it wasn't confusing until you came on the radio.
Well,
everyone else has. I've been quite happily muddling along with this system for 50 years, mate, and now here you are making me all confused.
So I'm 48.
Yeah, but are you?
But this is my 49th, 6th of October.
Yeah, in Korea, you're one on the day that you're born. Would that suit you better? Because if you don't like it, why don't you move to Korea?
Well, I'm 6'4". I've got no chance of being Korean.
You don't have to. I mean, no, you'd stand out a bit, but I don't know what the answer to your question is. I don't really know.
No, neither do I.
No, well, I know you don't.
And I've been waiting 48 or 49 years to find out.
But I don't really understand what the question is. Why don't we do it like the Koreans? Why don't we do it like the Koreans do it?
I guess if it works better for them. If I'd be happier.
Why are we naught for a year instead of being one when we're born?
Yeah.
All right. I'll see what I can do.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much. You've certainly got the old cogs whirring there, but I don't know that we're going to get an answer to that. Maybe we will. I mean, it is, when you think about it, it is actually quite confusing. Best not to think about it. Ryan's in Liverpool. Ryan, question or answer?
Question.
Carry on.
Hopefully it's not as complicated as
It's
that last one.
It's a weird one, wasn't it?
Wasn't it? So my question is, why are the vast majority of semi-detached houses built living room to living room and not front door to front door?
Oh.
So me and my partner were looking for a house last year, and a friend of mine lives in a house that is adjoined front door to front door. And he previously lived in a living room to living room, and he said, well, he chose that option because of less noisy neighbours.
Oh, I got it. Sorry. So you mean the two front doors are next to each other?
Yes, and that's what we were looking for.
But that's normal. I mean, that's normal.
It's not.
I'm thinking about London townhouses, the ones that Liz Truss hates. All of the London terraces have got the front doors next to each other, but they're both. If it's a terrace, they're both, aren't they? Because you've got one neighbour next to your front door and the other neighbour next to your sitting room.
Terraced are, but semi-detached they're not.
Oh, okay. No, I take that back.
And we tried. We come across a couple, and as I said, my friend lives in one, but the vast majority, and especially all of new builds, are living room to living room.
But I think that the noise, it's because of the staircases, isn't it?
No, because we can hear, if our neighbours have loud TV, which is not often, we can hear the TV. If they have an argument, I hope they're not listening. If they have an argument, we can, but we can't hear,
going up and downstairs.
No, we can't hear anything else throughout the rest of the house.
Well, you wouldn't be able to hear them going up and downstairs because you're living room to living room. If you were next to the staircase, but then your staircase would be next to their staircase.
We wouldn't be relaxing on the staircase of an evening, would we?
No, that's a fair point that you make.
I mean, I've got a theory myself.
Go on then. I'd like to hear your theory, actually.
I'm wondering if it's anything to do with cost, like, for instance, like electrical wiring, or
bringing it in and then splitting the.
Yeah, but then I think
I'm just drawing a picture of a semi-detached house here. So you've got
this is literally what I'd done a couple of weeks ago.
Front doors are at either extremity. Then you've got a big line down the middle, and you come up those. So you go up there. And obviously you're going to have your two tellies almost doing battle with each other, aren't you? If you're not careful.
Well, this is exactly it. Yeah. And I know our neighbours have their TV on the same side as ours, but
so they're back to back. It does seem okay. I'll follow up. I mean, there it is. Why are the vast majority of crucially semi-detached houses? Built living room to living room.
Yep.
And you didn't find one, did you say? You didn't find one?
No, we found a couple, but
you didn't fancy
they were super rare.
Oh, well, you live and learn. Chimneys. No. Could it be chimneys? You share a chimney. You got a fireplace?
We do have a fireplace, but my friend has a fireplace, but they've gutted it out, but they live front door to front door.
Yeah, but they're rare.
They're rare, but...
So the answer to why the vast majority are not like that would be chimneys, I reckon. Do you reckon?
No.
It's a better theory than... What was your theory?
I'm literally looking out my window now, but semi-detached houses, but...
It's got to be chimneys. I'll get an official answer. I'll get a builder or something. All right.
Okay.
Guys, got to be chimneys. Halls adjoining. The estate agents call it. Steve tells me halls adjoining, and that's a plus sign. I think that's what you would prefer, isn't it? Halls adjoining, front door to front door. Right. Well, let's find out. I bet it's chimneys, though.
You could be right.
I'd be amazed if it's not chimneys, mate. Got to be the chimneys. It's got to be the chimneys. Should put them on Liz Truss's list. Houses that are front door to front door, down with that sort. Thank you, Ryan. 12:46 is the time.
Mystery Hour with James O'Brien. This is LBC.
12:49 is the time. Mystery Hour. Why Sammy's usually built living room to living room. We did the Celestial Bodies on a Friday, didn't we? The Bubble and Squeak, we did that. Why are soapbox racers called soapbox racing? What was the birthday question? Why'd you get your age wrong? Yeah, Ian's very complicated question about why aren't you one? Why aren't you one on the day that you're born? Why do you spend a whole year being zero? 03456060973 is the number you need. Yorma is in Bristol. Yorma, question or answer?
Hello, James.
Hello.
Pleasure to speak to you.
Likewise.
Right. Riddle me this then. So I'll set the scene. I am sitting by the river in Bristol, which I do every day on my breaks for about last month.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Lovely day. The sun's out.
You there now? Are you actually meaning you are actually setting the scene now?
I am watching it as we speak. Yes.
Okay,
like,
lovely.
literally.
All right.
Now,
It's the Avon, is it? It'd be the Avon, would it, in Bristol? Is it
It will be.
Yeah, lovely.
that's
Yeah,
the one.
very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The tide's been out, but it's definitely pushing in. Yeah?
Okay.
And I just saw a heron, and your producer told me that the heron was irrelevant, but I need to set the scene.
No, I want the
heron
I want the
went-
full picture.
The heron ducked under, and it disappeared for about nearly a minute, and then popped up about 20 metres or 30 metres in the direction that the tide is coming in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's, the tide's pushing in. You can see it pushing in. It's moving.
Yeah.
And I see it every day. I've watched it, but what I'm trying to consider, every day I see it, but the leaves and the twigs that are on the top of the water in the middle are going the opposite back out to sea, if you see what I mean. Although the water is pushing in. And I'm not joking you, James. I every day I'm like, what is this? But not only that, it happens the other way round. So when the tide's going out, sometimes the leaves are going the other way.
Well, that would be the wind. That would be the wind.
No, Jay, I knew you were going to say that, right? But I guess
psychic
not.
now.
The
Go
wind
on.
is blowing in my hair the same direction as the water is moving, the tide is going in. And I knew you were going to say that. And I'm not joking.
No, well, I know you're not. It'd be a bit weird if you were.
It's baffling me, and it's not.
So the
just
wind
one-off.
is the tide is coming in.
For weeks now.
The tide is definitely.
Chance to sit by the river and watch the water and the wildlife, and it's happening.
Hello.
It's a real thing.
I know. I believe you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I'm just wondering.
Can you hear me?
Any of the listeners might have some sort of answer, or you, James, can have a crack at it.
Can you hear me?
Oh, hello. Sorry.
Are you all right? What happened?
Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. Did I cut off?
No, you just started ignoring me.
Oh, sorry. I didn't hear you. Sorry, James.
That's all right. I mean, I was constantly interrupting and talking over you, as I often do, but you just weren't...
So I'll shut up. And what did you say?
You can't remember now, can I? It's late in the programme. I get tired after 12:30. I've told you this before.
All right, yeah, I do know that one.
So just to clarify, the tide is coming in.
Yep, pushing in.
But there is flotsam on the water that is going out.
Going back out, yeah. Even though the tide's pushing in, and I know because the heron went basically.
People keep telling me it wouldn't be how big was it?
What?
The bird.
It was massive, mate. I know what a heron looks like.
Yeah, I thought everyone's going on. It wouldn't be a heron. It'd be a grebe. Someone says that's a cormorant. How do they know that it's a?
All right. Maybe it was a different bird, but it was a big bird.
I think it was a grebe or a cormorant because the heron doesn't go.
Right.
The heron has got a whopping great dagger for a beak and it just stabs stuff.
All right, okay, so maybe the heron, it was a big bird anyway.
But this isn't the point, is it? I mean, I don't know why these people are being so pedantic.
Yeah, whoever that is, ignore them.
There's loads of them.
Point is,
Kyle?
All right, well, they can back off.
And two Kyles. It must be the same Kyle with two accounts. There can't be two Kyles both going, it must be a cormorant.
Well, the water's pushing that way,
No,
basically.
I understand. So the tide is coming in,
but
the flotsam is going out.
It's going out. Why is that? Yeah.
Let's find out.
And it's not the wind, James. Point that out.
No, it's not the wind. I have pointed that out. It's not the wind.
Right.
It's the flotsam. I think I'm using that word correctly. It possibly is jetsam, but mostly flotsam. Thank you, Yorma. Enjoy the rest of your break. Can we get him an answer? Scott's in Sheffield. Question or answer?
It's an answer.
Carry on, Scott.
It's the birthday question.
Oh, yes.
And sorry, I'm a little bit starstruck because you're one of my favourite radio presenters in the world.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, it's going to be a massive anticlimax. This, I should warn you in advance.
It really is. And the worst thing is the qualification is I'm a dad, and it comes from a dad's joke.
Oh,
so
fantastic!
Effectively,
go on then.
How many birthdays does the average human have? It's not really a joke; it's more of a fact. But
a riddle.
Dad line.
Yeah.
It's one. You're born, and that's it. Everything's a celebration afterwards. So when the chap was saying, "Why is this when you're 1 year old, you're having your second Easter?" Well, you're also about to have your second anniversary of your birth, but you've already had the first one. So effectively, you're between 0 and 1.
Yeah.
You've already had one birthday, and then you have your first birthday, and you've done everything in between there once. So your first birthday
is your first anniversary?
your first birthday is the day you're born.
No, that's your birthday. Your first celebrated. Your number. Yeah, it's your first. It's the first anniversary of your birth. You're 1.
Yeah, but you've also then got the next after that. You've got the second anniversary, your first anniversary of your first Easter. So you've basically gone. You're going round again, but you know it is your second time. And it's just a bit of a logical fallacy. The chap was a little bit confused, I think.
Yeah, but and also in Korea, they do you're 1 on the day that you're born. That's what Keith keeps telling me. I haven't actually checked.
There's a good chance you could make it into cabinet, though.
I think you've done it. Qualifications, dad joke, dad riddle, dad.
Yeah, I'm a dad. I tell dad riddles and love jokes.
I like it. Do you remember my favourite dad joke? How old are your kids?
6 and 1.
Oh, a 6-year-old will like this. What's the? I can't remember whether I've done this before on the radio. It's quite a good one. You ready?
Yeah.
What's this?
I'm trying to think.
It's a pair of pants.
Brilliant.
The 6-year-old will
need
like
a round of applause.
The 6-year-old's going to like that one, right? Round of applause for Scott. Round of applause for Scott. Thank you, mate. 12:56. I think my friend Nick Revel, who is a professional comedian, as you know, I think he told mine that joke many moons ago. Max is in Braintree. Question or answer, Max?
It is an answer, James.
Carry on.
It's the days of the week one. My radio cut out, so I'm not quite sure how far you got with it.
I thought I'd nailed it, actually, to be honest with you, but you know.
Well, I didn't hear the end of your answer, so I'm hoping I can add to it.
Carry on.
If I'm not,
I bet you can. I bet you can. You're 1 year old, aren't you, on your first birthday? That's the way to think about it. I'm 1 year. Anyway, carry on. Sorry.
So we need to not think of celestial bodies so much as gods.
Yeah.
When we're looking at the French, we're looking at the old Romano gods. So we're looking at Mars, we're looking at Mercury, Jupiter,
Venus.
not necessarily the planets.
Venus.
Yep, Venus, Jupiter, Venus, Saturn. And in England, we're looking at the Germanic Norse gods and their equivalents.
Yes.
So Zeus is the god of war, the equivalent of Mars. Woden, Woden's day, Odin is Mercury.
Yeah.
Jeudi, Jupiter, we have Thor's day, and in German it's Thunder Day.
Yeah.
And Vendredi, Venus, is Freya's day, which is Thor's mother.
Oh.
And,
you're going to get a round of applause. I don't quite know why they put you through, because I did all this already.
What, you said Freya's day?
Yeah.
Oh, did you? Oh, there you go. I didn't hear that bit.
Oh, yeah, I did, yeah.
Oh.
It cost my parents a fortune, this education, you know, Max.
Wasted both our time, yeah?
Well, no, not at all. I've enjoyed talking to you. And also, you sound quite authoritative, and I think you used some language I wasn't familiar with.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you a round of applause.
Maybe. Oh, okay, thank you, James.
Oh, you're welcome. You sound disappointed now. Should I not have said? It would have been better if I'd let you go away thinking that you'd brought new information to the programme when you hadn't, wouldn't it? That would be worse.
I didn't want to take an applause away from you. I know how much you need them.
Well, I'm comfortable with my levels of applause. I put one back in the box earlier. I'm so chill about it these days.
That's true. I'm happy to have it.
Thank you, Max. Well played.
Cool.
Good,
cheers,
James. Go squeeze in one more. Colin, Kings Langley, question, answer?
Answer. Yes. Why cables are hallway to hallway quite often? Houses are hallway to hallway. That's the older houses.
Yes.
When they first started making cables to run into people's houses, it was paper, wax, insulated, very expensive cable.
Right.
And to save the cost of running one into each house, they would run into one and then go back entry through the wall to the other house to put a metre on each side.
Nothing to do with chimneys?
Nothing to do with chimneys whatsoever.
Well, you live and learn. Hang on, David's in Malton. David, you're an architect. He's a builder. Do you agree?
Well, there's loads of reasons, James. Hiya, how are you doing?
I'm all right. I'm short of time. Sheila's here, so make it snappy.
Yeah, well, I work for loads of developers, and the big one with developers is snobbery. Nobody wants to go into a house next door to the neighbour, so they keep it apart, so it doesn't look like a terrace, and that's from a big developer's mouth.
Okay, that'll do. Colin, I think you're both right, aren't you?
Yeah,
I think so as well.
Yeah, nice one. Right, round of applause for the lads.
Take care.
And you, take care. Thank you, Colin. Thank you, David. Thank you, Sheila. Oh, hang on, I need a winner. Did you hear much of it?
No, I didn't actually. And the gentleman before, who was a bit sad at
Max.
having repeated things, he taught me something I didn't know. So
I'm going to give him the round of... He can have the game. He can have the Mystery Hour board game then. I'm giving it to Max.
I think we made him a bit sad.
He did sound
we,
downcast.
It's the royal we. You did.
He sounded downcast, didn't he? Well, hopefully a Mr. Outdoor game will cheer him up.
You've cheered him up now.
There you go. Thank you.
Full circle.
Lovely.
Thank you, James.
Perfect. 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 Lovely.
Thank you, James.